You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode number, wait for it, 200. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where we talk about what really happens when you take a break from drinking. And it turns out to be the best thing you've ever done. I'm Anna, coach to high achievers who are done waking up with regret and ready to feel in control around alcohol. If you've ever wondered what your life could look like with less wine and more you, you're in the right place. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. My word, 200 episodes. I wonder how many of you have been with me from the beginning or have listened to all 199 of them. If that is you, send me an email, anna@90dayslater.co. Now, it's so cool that you are here. It is so cool that you are listening to this podcast, that you are taking, if you are taking the initiative, to really follow up and do the work. I suggest, because I was talking about this the other day, when I was in the throes of pretty much daily drinking, half a bottle to 3/4 a bottle to even a bottle a night. And it was growing, and all of the self-doubt and right, all of that stuff that many of you are going through. I could never, so back in the day, I could never have ever really imagined that I would get to the state where wine would, and my Premier Cru Chablis, no less, would be irrelevant in my life, right? It was an impossible dream. It was like saying, right, we're going to send you to Jupiter, which is my favorite planet. It's like sending you to Jupiter, right? It's not going to happen. To have this new relationship with wine where I'm not drinking it every night and where I don't miss it, not going to happen, right? It seemed impossible. And if you'd have said, no, not just that, but you were going to help others. You were going to help hundreds of other people to create this same result for themselves, and you're going to create a podcast, and you are going to be having, celebrating your 200th episode, right? I wanted to see that was a whole new reality that was out there that has become my reality, right? It was a possibility, but it seemed impossible, and yet here it is. Not only is it possible, and it's really happening, and it is better. It is so much better than everything before. Not just the not drinking so much, but also, I'm not in my corporate job where it was fine. It was great, but it is not. Doesn't touch the sides of the work I do today, and the absolute honor it is to work with each and every one of my wonderful clients who have stepped forward and said yes to themselves, even when they were scared that it wouldn't work, even when they thought they tried everything. So I salute, and to all my clients listening, my current and past clients, I salute you. And to all of those of you who are dreaming, is this going to be me? Yeah, come and join in, right? Come and work with me. And then I can have you on the podcast, and then you can create, that's if you want to, and you can create this new reality for yourself. So I thought it would be apropos on the 200th, so I can't believe that 200 times sitting to do this, that we tackle a question that does come up quite a lot, which is, well, I've cut back on my drinking, now what? Now, I will say I hear this question out on the message boards, out kind of in other life, not in my world. Because as I work through this with my clients, we start to create that new reality for themselves. They know what's going to happen next, right? They're creating this new level of desire for other things in their life. But if you are thinking, well, I've actually have cut back my drinking, Anna, but life still doesn't feel great, this is for you, because maybe you have already made some changes. Right? Maybe you are drinking less than you used to. Maybe you're more intentional. Maybe you are no longer stuck in the every night habit. Right? Now that is huge progress. Congratulations. But what can happen, especially after a little while, and this can happen, we're moving into sober October, this can happen, right? As if we do a dry spell without really having that as a new identity, right? It's just kind of something that we do as a fix. You may have the old brain start whispering, okay, right, we've done it. We've done the 30 days. All right, we're not drinking every night. We've proven we can do it. We've been good. Can we just relax now? All right, can we not just go back kind of to the old way that, you liked, right? Or maybe you're wondering, I've reached my goal, but what is next? Or I've done the 30 days, or I've done the 15 days, or I've done what is next? This stage, my lovely friends, matters just as much as the first stage of cutting back. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about what it looks like to move from what I'm going to call active change into more maintenance mode. And we're going to look even beyond that, right? So that you can feel confident about the future. So let's back it up a little and start with the early effort. I mean, let's really be real. When you first start cutting back, or even when you basically say, okay, I really am going to do this now, it takes effort. Maybe you're tracking your drinks. You're paying attention to when you feel triggered. You're staying on top of your plans. You're noticing and observing yourself. You're seeing what is happening. And it can feel intense. It can feel kind of like you're on high alert all the time, because we've gone from not really being aware and automatically drinking to going into, okay, I really am going to start being aware. And that's a skill that takes effort. And this is normal, totally normal, because this is a stage when you are starting to rewire habits. You are starting to build new skills. This is a skills building exercise. You are starting to teach your brain that alcohol isn't the automatic answer anymore, or even that it doesn't need to be the automatic answer anymore. Maybe you start there, right? This stage requires focus. And then something happens. You start to get results. You start to feel a little better. Your new routine starts to kick in more frequently. And then suddenly, it's a bit boring, right? So then we move into what I'm going to call stage 2, which is the boring middle. This is the part of the process where your lizard brain loves to be. Because boring, when we find something boring, this means you might let your guard down, right? Your lizard brain is going to want to tempt you back. Send back to the old days that you liked. Remember, you liked those, it's going to tell you. It's going to say things like, you don't need to be so strict anymore. You've proved your point, right? You've proved your point. You can go without booze for however many days. You've proved you can do it. Then it will also say, wouldn't it be easier? Come on, easier to just stop all this planning and then just have the drink. You know that's what you really want. And you may agree with yourself here, right? Because this is where many people wobble. Not because they can't cut back, not because they aren't able to keep working the process, but because they maybe didn't expect this stage to feel so flat, right? We kind of have that first frisson of, ooh, I think I can do this. This feels really good. I feel empowered. I feel motivated. And then it's like, is this it? Is this what it's going to be like? Right? If you feel wobbly here, it's normal. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you are failing. It means you are moving into a new phase. And this is where support and new tools are going to make all the difference. Because, people, the truth is, boring is actually a sign of success. It means the new habits are embedding themselves, right? The drama is gone. We are normalizing the new ways of working, of new ways of interacting around alcohol. Your brain just hasn't caught up with that reality yet. At least your lizard brain hasn't. And your lizard brain, by the way, is not going to want to. It's going to want to cling on to those old habits that you've had for so long because it thinks you like them, right? And because you have been using the wine to feel happy when you're sad or less frustrated or less stressed or whatever. And so your lizard brain sees the wine as the solution. It might still see that. But after stage 2, the boring middle, we then move into what I'm going to call stage 3, which is the now what. Right, you've moved through the middle. You've established a new normal. You're not drinking every night. You feel more in control. You've achieved the goal maybe that you set. And then you ask, now what? Now, here are a few directions you might notice your brain go. It might want to ease off completely and drift back to old patterns. Right? This is where the lizard brain would be super happy. It might look for the next big project or the next big thing in your life to solve because it's not used to living without, some kind of struggle. Or it might simply feel lost because for so long the focus was on cutting back and now that identity is gone. I remember this clearly back when I was 15. I had just sat my O-levels, which was the school exams we had in those days. And I had for so long been revising every day, pretty much every day, whether it's at the end of school days, the weekdays, and at the weekends, that after I completed my exams, for a good 2 to 3 weeks, I would have the thought, okay, what are we going to revise today? And then I'd have to remind myself, I don't need to do it. I've done the exam. Right? And that kept coming back again and again and again because I hadn't created the new reality where actually, Hannah, you can now relax for a little bit before it all starts again in September. Right? So that's just what's happening here. We're changing identity. And at this point where you start to wonder what next, this is where I want to encourage you to zoom out. Right? Because the question isn't just how much am I drinking anymore, right? The question is, who am I becoming? Who have I become? What do I want my life to feel like? Because when the wine, the daily wine, is no longer front and center, you get to ask bigger, better questions. What do you want to pour your energy into? What lights you up? What's been on the back burner while drinking was taking up so much headspace? This is a real thing. Once I get to a certain stage, my clients get to a certain stage, we start to talk about all the space they have created in their lives. Now that their mind is less really fixated and stuffed full of all the thoughts about the wine. So let me get to my practical section on the podcast. This is the practical tools. Could be the homework section. You know how I like to give you things to take away. Here's what you can do. I want to encourage you to redefine success. Instead of only tracking drinks, which you might want to still continue doing, I totally encourage and advise that. But in addition to that, you might want to start tracking how you feel, how you're showing up. You might want to track the quality of your sleep, the level of your energy, what's going on, how are your relationships changing. The second thing you could do is to shift your focus to identity. Actively take that head on. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who's cutting back, in quotes, and start thinking of yourself as someone who chooses when I drink intentionally. Right? You don't have to go to perfect Pollyanna land where I'm never going to think about, never going to worry about this if that's not true for you. But just think of yourself as I'm someone who chooses intentionally, and I follow through on that. You could design just new little rewards and treats and things, right? If wine used to mark the end of the day, what do you want that end of day ritual to be? By the way, you don't need anything, right? It could just be that was the day and now it's the evening and this is what I do now. But if you're somebody who likes to mark the transition, you might want to make a thing of a new little ritual. Maybe it's just a walk. Maybe it's a cup of tea. Maybe just sit down with a cup of tea. Maybe you come in and you take your shoes down and you go and sit at your study or something, and you put a timer on for 5 minutes, and that's what you do. Building those habits, those new habits that don't have any negative consequences on the back end, can feel genuinely rewarding. And I also encourage you to think about this as playing the long game, right? This is when we zoom out. Cutting back isn't the finish line. It is the starting point. Oh, so exciting. It's a starting point for building a life where alcohol is small and irrelevant. As I say many, many times, there is nothing wrong with having a drink. But when we are not drinking to feel a different way, it is totally different. So if you are going about your life asking, well, I've cut back, I'm going to have, even if it's only to some extent, but now what? I want you to know this. You are not stuck, right? You are standing at a doorway One path takes you back to where you started. Another leads you forward into more freedom, where wine is no longer the main character in your story. Now, if you feel wobbly here, that is okay. It is part of the process. If you're scared, if you're afraid, you're going to wait for the shoe to drop, you're going to float back into old habits. Of course, you might feel that way, but we don't want that to stop us. We just want to accept that fear, and we're still going to take action, right? Because maybe you don't quite trust yourself yet. Maybe you're not sure what's next. And that is exactly where I can help you. You do not have to figure this out alone. And when we do this, we will also make sure that we really deepen those roots on what has been working for you to cut back. So if you want help figuring out what that next chapter looks like for you, that's exactly what I do with my clients. We go beyond the drink count and we talk about creating a life where alcohol just isn't that interesting anymore. Now you can book a free discovery call through the link in the show notes, and I will give you the simple plan to move forward. Now, I'm recording this at the end of September. If you take action now, right, we're gonna start making that new reality for you. If you think, I'm just gonna wait till a better time, to when I'm ready for it, I want you to think in that ready time, when that time comes along, you will be a few months, maybe a few years older, and you'll still have likely this same challenge. But this way we can get it done now, and then you can move on, where alcohol really doesn't have that much relevance at all, if any, in your life. It is the biggest dose of freedom that you can give yourself. And I am here to help you do it. All right, that's it for this week. And I'll be back next week with episode 201. If this episode hit home and you're ready to explore what life could look like with alcohol in the backseat, let's talk. I work with people one-on-one who are ready to create the relationship with alcohol that works for them, so they feel powerful in their choices and at peace with their habits. Go to 90dayslater.co and click on book a call, or grab one of the free guides in the show notes to this episode. And if this podcast is helping you, a rating or review goes a long way to help others find this work too.